Good day, math students. We are going to be reviewing dividing with decimals in the divisor, dividend, and quotient. Let's begin with question number 1. Now make sure that you solve the problems first. So while you're solving them, pause the video. When you're done solving the problem, unpause the video and check your answer. If you're just copying the answers, you know that you are not doing right by yourself. You want to make sure that you practice so that way you can be proud of your accomplishments. Okay, let's get started. We cannot have a decimal in the divisor, so we need to move the decimal point over as many times as needed to make it a whole number. So you're going to move this over 1 time to make it 21. And then whatever you do on the outside, you have to do on the inside. So we move this over once, and we're going to bring it right up into our quotient. Now for those who know, basically we multiplied the divisor by 10 and the dividend by 10. And that will make them still the same. Okay, now 21 cannot divide 2, so I write a 0 above the 2. 21 can divide 25 1 time, which is 21. I subtract and I get 4. 4 is less than 21. I can bring down the 2. 21 can divide 42 2 times. 2 multiplied by 21 is 42. I subtract and I have 0. Question number 2. I have 34 and 2 tenths divided by 3 and 8 tenths. I'm going to make 3 and 8 tenths 38. And then I'm going to make the same change over here in the dividend and bring up the decimal point into the quotient. 38 cannot divide 3, so I put a 0 above the 3. 38 cannot divide 34, so I am going to put a 0 above the quotient. 38 is bigger than 34. 38 can divide 342. To estimate how many times, I'm going to cover up the last digit in each number. 3 can divide 34 10 times. 10 is a 2-digit number and does not fit into this space above the 2. The largest number that I can put here is a 9. So I'm going to multiply 38 times 9. 72, 27 plus 7 is 34. So that works out perfectly. So you have 3, 4, 2, and we subtract and we get 0. When I do this method, I call it the cover-up method. Question number 3. We have 14 and 6 tenths divided by 4 tenths. So I'm going to slide the decimal point over once and once. Bring it up into my quotient right away so I don't forget. 4 cannot divide 1, so I write a 0 above the 1. 4 can divide 14 3 times. 3 multiplied by 4 equals 12. I subtract. 4 take away 2 equals 2. Bring down the 6. 4 can divide 26 6 times. 6 multiplied by 4 equals 24. I subtract and I get 2. If this were a whole number problem, I could just write remainder 2. But because I have a decimal here, I'm going to add a 0 because 146 and 146.0 are the same value. I bring down the 0. 4 can go into 20 5 times. It does look like I'm running out of room here, so I'm just going to write this a little bit smaller. 20 take away 20 equals 0. Question number 4. We have 20 and 100 divided by 8 and 7/10. I'm going to move the decimal point over once and once. Bring it right into my quotient. 87 cannot divide 2, so I write a 0 above the 2. It cannot divide 20, so I write a 0 above the 20. It can divide 200. So what I'm going to do is cover up the last digit of both numbers. 8 can go into 20 2 times, which is 16. So we're going to try 87 times 2, 14, 16, 17. Let's see if that works. I'm going to have to borrow 1, 10, make this a 9, and this becomes a 10. So 10 take away 4 equals 6, 9 take away 7 equals 2. Make sure you check. 26 is less than 87, so I can move on. If it wasn't, then I know that the number in my quotient wasn't big enough. Bring down the 1. Now I'm going to cover up the 1 and the 7. 8 can go into 26 3 times, because 8 times 3 is 24. So I have 87 times 3, 21, 24, 25, 26. So it's perfect. We have a 0. So our answer is 2 3/10. Question number 5. Here we have 78 54/100 divided by 4 2/10. We're going to make 4 2/10 42, and we're going to take this decimal and the dividend and move it over once and bring it up into our quotient. 42 cannot divide 7. 42 can divide 78 one time, which equals 42. 8 take away 2 equals 6. 7 take away 4 equals 3. And I'm going to bring down the 5. Now, to estimate, I'm going to cover up the 5 and cover up the 2. 4 can go into 36 9 times, so I can start guessing there. That's an educated estimate. Times 9, 18, 36, 37. You'll notice that it's a little bit too high, so all we have to do is go down 1 digit. When you use the cover-up method, you usually get the answer right on the first try or the second try. This way you don't have to guess random numbers. 8 times 2 equals 16, carry the 1. This is 32, 33. So we have 8 and 3, 3, 6. We are going to have to borrow to subtract. 15 take away 6 equals 9, and 5 take away 3 equals 2, and we're going to have to bring down the 4. Again, I'm going to cover up to use the cover up method to estimate. I'm going to cover up my last digit here and my last digit here. 4 can go into 29 7 times, so I will multiply 42 times 7, 14, 28, 29. So that will work because it's exactly what I need. All right, question number 6. We're going to make 7/10 7, and then we're going to move the decimal point over to the right once in our divisor. 7 is unable to divide 3, so I write a 0 above the 3. 7 is able to divide 36 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. I subtract, I get 1. I bring down the 4. 7 is able to divide 14 2 times. 2 times 7 equals 14. I subtract, I get a 0. I bring down the 7. 7 can divide 7 one time, which is 7. and I get 0 left over. Next page, we have 4/100ths as our divisor and 36/100ths as our dividend. So in order to make this a whole number, we have to move the decimal twice to the right. This means we're going to move the decimal point twice to the right here. I'm going to bring it right up into our problem. So 4 cannot divide 0, cannot divide 3. It can divide 36 9 times. 9 times 4 is 36. And when I subtract, I get 0. Problem 8, we have 6/100ths, and we're going to make that a whole number by moving the decimal point over 2 times to the right. And now we're going to move the decimal point in the dividend over 2 times to the right and bring it straight up into our quotient. 6 cannot divide 0. It can divide 7 one time. 1 multiplied by 6 is 6. Subtract, and I get 1. Bring down the 2. 6 can go into 12 twice. 2 times 6 equals 12. 12 take away 12 equals 0. Bring down the 1. 6 cannot divide 1, so I write a 0. 0 times 6 is 0. Subtract, I get 1. Please bring down the 2. 6 can divide 12 twice, which is 12, and you get 0. So hopefully that one wasn't too bad. It looks intimidating in the beginning because it's big numbers, but it ended up not being too bad. Okay, now here we have a little note. You will need to annex zeros. That means you're going to have to add zeros. So keep that in mind as you solve this. So we have 1 2/10. We're going to move the decimal point over once and over once and bring it right up into the quotient. 12 cannot divide 4, so we write a 0. 12 can divide 42. So I'm going to estimate 3 times. So do 12 times 3, 36. All right, so then 3, 36, subtract. I have to borrow to subtract. 12 take away 6 equals 6. 3 take away 3 is 0. And 6 is less than 12, so we can move on. We're going to bring down the 3. And now we have, just hold on one sec. We have, I'm going to say 5. So 5 times 12. Now if you look at a clock, you should know this one. That's 60. And then we have a 3. Okay. If this was whole number division, then you would put remainder 3. But since we have a decimal, we can annex a 0. So we're going to add a 0, bring it down. And 12 can go into 30 twice, which is 24. Hopefully you know that math fact. We have to borrow. This becomes a 2. This becomes a 10. 10 take away 4 equals 6. So we're going to add a 0 again. And we already know that 5 times 12 equals 60. So we are done. All right, last problem, problem number 10. We have 25/100ths dividing 1 1/2. So we're going to bring the decimal over twice to make this a whole number, and twice to match. We'll bring it up. Now when I bring this over twice, I need to add a 0 as a placeholder. 25 cannot divide 1. It cannot divide 15. It can divide 150. Now, I cover up and cover up. 2 can go into 15 7 times. Now, I want to mention that this is a 5. So that's probably going to mean that it might not be a 7. It might have to be a 6. So keep that in mind, all right? 25 times 7, 35, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so that's too high. So 25 times 6 is 30, and that's 150. So we have 6, and that's 150, and then we have 0 left over. So the answer is 6. And there you have it. Well done, and have a great day.